There you are.
Did the information you got on Tyreek today regarding scans and swelling suggest to you that it's week to week or day to day with him? And is Connor Williams out for the season?
Day to day for Tyreek. Connor Williams out for the season. ACL.
Jordan?
Yeah.
Thanks.
How do you try to replace the Connor?
You don't directly replace it necessarily, and I'd love to take the time right now to speak on the regard that this team has for Connor Williams and what he was doing this year, playing some excellent ball. His journey, position switching, and really finding some good footing. You don't necessarily replace that directly. However, you also prepare a lot for contingencies for these types of scenarios. Typically, we've been as prepared, and hats have gone off to the offensive line and Butch and Frank Smith and just everybody for how we've been able to sustain multiple lineup changes, and then at some point, it gets a little challenging on everyone when you start talking about your double digits and people participating on your team. But along that journey, guys get much more equipped to do it. Guys start playing better at those positions. We will, I thought, Liam's had a really cool season to me because he's gone in a position, whether it's right guard, left guard, center, and he's played well enough for us to win, and the next week he comes back and plays even better. That momentum we'll be counting on along those lines. You might see us add somebody here in the near future at some point, and then we've been working Lester Cotton all year at center as well. So those are the types of things that teams all around the league are doing at some point during the season at various positions. It's part of football. So you get tested in multitude of ways, whether that's mind, body, or spirit, and that's I'm confident in the way that we'll progress with that in his loss.
You just mentioned you guys have done a good job this year piecing in when guys have been out on the O-line, but 4 guys at some point were out yesterday, starters from the start of the season. Does it change how you can call an offensive game when it becomes maybe too much as far as turnover on that offensive line?
Yeah, you just have to be realistic. It's not just blind faith; it's earned faith. So when guys are in positions that I'm used to them being in, as well as I know their matchups and the defensive presentation, how they're stressed. There's multitude of times it doesn't change anything at all just because of the inherent deliberate reps that we've observed. Then there's also situations where that this guy or that guy hasn't been in this scenario or hasn't worked with this person, and the various defensive presentations that can change things a little bit. Yesterday, there was probably a couple directions that I felt would be most prudent and the most responsible as a result for this particular circumstance, not out of lack of faith, but just out of being fair to you're competing against an opponent that's practiced what they're doing. What strain does it put in your offense? So it does adjust things in certain situations, and I think yesterday did to a degree a little bit. just because of the exact formula. But that's part of football. You're assessing matchups and deciding a multitude of things based upon those matchups, and yeah, it makes it it makes it a little more challenging, but nothing that you shouldn't be able to handle.
What is your
Updates. Go ahead.
what is your outlook on the short week regarding Rob Hunt and Teron Armstead? Whether you might be able to add them back to the offensive line?
Yeah, I think the Armstead is more conceivable. We'll be day to day with him, and it's part of just knowing what type of game that's going to be, and then the games ahead, specifically one with a short week. I think it made it more difficult to play Armstead last night. I think Rob's proving to be a little more week to week like, so that I wouldn't. I would be very pleasantly surprised if Rob was available for the Jets, but I'm not. Again, I'm not gonna say that he can't, but that'd be more of a pleasant surprise.
Mike, updates on Deshaun Elliott, Brandon Jones, and Liam Eichenberg, health-wise.
Okay, Deshaun Elliott cleared the UNC's their assessment during the game. However, during later on in the game, in communication with our training staff, he reported some verbal symptoms, and so it is now protocol and concussion protocol. Because once he verbalized some symptoms, we just immediately took him out. Then Liam Eichenberg came out of the game with some, he got bumped and bruised along the journey in the game, so he fought through it really well. Was very, very impressed with his toughness, but it's just the football bumps and bruises is the best way to put it. And didn't you say someone else?
Brandon Jones.
Yeah, Brandon Jones. He had some stitches on an open wound, but he should be good.
With Tyreek, I wanted to get your thoughts on just the importance, obviously, he is to your offense, but do you have to kind of remind yourself at times, spread the ball around, get Jalen involved? Obviously, we saw Cedric last night get a bunch of targets as well.
No, I think that, I think that is kind of inherent, at least for me as a play caller, as you're trying to distribute the ball. There are times where there's a glutton of opportunities that go Tyreek's way. Generally, that's momentum based. But there's we're collectively we're strongest when you have to worry about everyone. So there's always that type of mindset and wanting to involve people, and then you just don't fight how the game presents a lot of times. And when he's a hot hand, just like when Jalen's a hot hand, similar things happen. I know there's I can't remember which week it was. Maybe it was 3 weeks ago against Vegas, but people attributed Tyreek being out to Waddle getting successive targets. It really wasn't the case. It was that you're paying attention as a play caller to what's happening on the field with a clear mind, with an idea of what you're going to go to. But then when people noticeably you can feel the momentum of a certain moment or a drive or whatever, you try to empower the offense by getting the ball in those guys' hands. But that's always something that you're trying to distribute the ball to various guys, I think. When you're one of the best players in the National Football League, regardless of positions, you're always going to get your opportunities. But it's important for us to always make sure players are involved in their strength whatever that is. And sometimes a guy's strength is, being at the point of attack, removing defenders from the point of attack. Like, Alec Ingold, for instance, is very involved in every game, and doesn't get a ton of targets, but is one of the reasons other people get successful targets, whether that be a clean pocket or identification on how to run a tricky route from the backfield or whatever. Same thing with like Durham Smythe. But for the most part, we try to distribute the ball because that's the best way to keep the defense on their heels.
Why no offensive snaps for a guy like Chase Claypool? Could he be a potential solution to some of the red zone issues?
Yeah, I mean, I think he provides. Everybody has a different skill set, and you're kind of playing you're letting the week progress. You have different opportunities, and the way that guys play out during the week kind of dictates those terms. I think some of the opportunities that Chase would have gotten, I think, were kind of won during the week by Cedric Wilson a little bit. But we have that up every week, and he's in the conversation for sure. But you're also you're not predetermining. All right, well, the gods have spoken to me. You will make the best play. You kind of put it in their hands, and in our receiver room particularly, there are several guys that can make plays. So on top of Tyreek and Waddle, so we try to be equitable during the week and let those guys earn those ops and see where they can have advantages. There was some, we didn't get to them. There was some plays featured for Chase in the regular field and in the red zone, but those were we didn't end up getting to those.
Tyreek, would you consider yourself optimistic of his chances to play Sunday?
Yeah, I'm optimistic about Tyreek in general. I know if there's a will, there's a way. He, it's a little early to be that confident either way. That was a painful ankle that he took the time to kind of warm up, work, and get to a point where he could feel like he could provide what we need him to provide. He's given me only reason to be confident in his ability, but until he flat out tells me that there's no doubt that he's going to play, you always have to plan for everything, and I haven't talked to him today, so.
If I can just follow, as far as Monday, we obviously don't hear anything, but on the sideline we see Tyreek kind of standing there, and then he kind of runs in. Is there communication between you and him? Does he tell you he's not okay? Do you tell him, wait? Like, I'm curious kind of what that process was.
So it's all dependent on the time of the game and what's going on, but really there's a trifecta of communication between myself, Kyle, and Wes Welker. And Wes Welker's on the headset, so a lot of times I'm just pacing and he'll be talking to me. And there was points in the game he doesn't want to lead us astray, so he's this particular injury, he was just trying to move it enough to get a feel for how it would be like going full speed, but not aggravate it even more, and was just kind of being cautious, walking back and forth, and it was pretty stiff on him. And then he finally got it to a place where he could go, and sometimes those happen at the last second, and then generally that's like communicated to me right before the play when it is that last second. Other times that it's like, all right, well, next series, or don't have them from this series. So there's just a constant communication that goes on with a lot of players, but specifically guys like that.
I wanted to, real quick, I wanted to ask you about the last drive.
Mhm.
Seemed like twice that there's, I don't know, clock issues. Was the first when, the Smythe catch, should the clock had stopped then when they figured out what was going on? And maybe I'm mistaken, but certainly the Achane catch on the sidelines, he was originally called out of bounds, and then
Right.
the players had their back to the refs, and
Oh yeah.
someone came in.
Well, and so there's pros and cons for every type of invention that comes within our game. We have this, I think, a very, very productive system of replay assist that can happen live speed, that can make sure calls are right. And with that being a newer system, and with stars having to align, like in those type of situations, it can be pretty tricky. And I believe that's what happened, because it was, you go off the signal of the referee or the linesman, and so you're thinking it was a stopped clock, and then out of nowhere it's a running clock. Oh yeah, and it happens to be fourth down. Those can kind of be tricky, but that's not. It's not because of anyone being short-sighted. It's because I can totally understand the reason for the system, and that is a little tricky that I just not totally used to. When something like that happens, that's I can promise you this: every time someone's being tackled right around out of bounds in a 2-minute situation, that's a learned scenario that I won't keep my eyes off that person, regardless of what the situation is, because that is tricky. But we also have systems where we can go on the line of scrimmage immediately. It wasn't. It's not ideal, but I can understand why it happened, because when you look at the replay, Devon's knee was down in bounds. So, get the first down or don't be out of bounds.
At the expense of spoiling Hard Knocks tonight, what has been your overall message communicated to the team since the loss?
Well, I just haven't spoke with them today. We're on a short week, and they their main focus today was regen, and the players kind of met on their own. But last night and today, kind of my message is, and will be, when I get in front of them again, is that there's, especially games like that, there is a tangible amount of emotion that is derived from that. The way the game happened, the 14-point deficit that's closed in 4 minutes, all the different opportunities, that's emotionally, I don't know if you'd call it like, it can really just really take over. You go to bed with an emotion, you wake up with emotion, and I understand that, and I think that's very valid for a bunch of people that care. Just like I'm sure a lot of people were pretty irritated last night that are fans that woke up the same way. Having said that, the objective, the main point, is that you have to take that emotion, and at some point you have to put it over here, and then you have to look at what actually happened in the game, so that the point is to learn from it and get better. The point is to use it at in some way, shape, or form moving forward. We have to. We thus far this season, we have done a good job of, out of the 13 ops, we've won 9 of them, 4 we lost, and the previous 3, I felt like we got better from it. That will be 100% what we will be focusing on together as a team and just moving forward, because this is what I see. Removing the emotion, there was let's call it 70 plays arbitrarily. This is maybe 50 of them were I was really happy about. They were prepared and they were good team defense, offense, or special teams. Then 30 of those people have to recognize that probably we aren't making at the beginning of the season. Though that's really good stuff. That being said, there's some really bad stuff. Really bad stuff. Like, you get in a situation where you're the first team to lose a game up by 14 in the last 3 to 4 minutes since like 2017. Yeah, that's what it is. And you don't run away from it. You don't say, "Oh, everything's all good." No, the point of this game, which you're trying to accomplish things that are very hard that everyone else is trying to accomplish, is you have to be willing to look at the hard things and make sure they don't define you. Make sure that you utilize that opportunity. That adversity is real, and it either is what you are or what is the reason you become something else. And that I think is something they're used to, but there's not a finer example, especially like in the last month. We've said a ton. We want to play our best football in December. That game was in December, and that was not our best football. Well, we have 2 to 3 more games in December than one in January promised to us. Well, we better utilize all the things that we absolutely do not want to relive in the other games. Then it's purposeful. Then it's not. You're not defined as that. You've used it to define who you're going to be, and that's it's not easy. But who said anything that any of our goals are easy? So I'm very motivated for the team to work through undesirable circumstances to achieve their best selves and our best version of the team, and that takes work. That takes 100% commitment from everyone, and it's not for everybody. But what we're trying to do isn't anyway.
At risk of overstepping what's my business, you sound fairly emotional today, and you were just talking about emotion. Is that Connor Williams? Is that the loss, or if that's not my business?
No. I wouldn't say emotional. I'm excited for the work in front of us. So I guess I'm convicted that if it's coming across as emotion, I'm just generally an emotional guy. But there's conviction in what I see from that tape from the game yesterday, and I think that it's as clear as day to me on what needs to be done with regard to handling something like a disappointment like that. I don't think the biggest thing is we have you have to work through all that stuff, get better from it, then focus on the Jets, and it is that simple and easy, but very hard to do in practice, and that's kind of the direction I'm going. If you're going to ask me not to be emotional, you're going to have to ask me not to be me any day, because you could get, you've been there. You say the right topic, and I'll go to half tears in a heartbeat. It's not a big deal. So, no, I'm pumped for the work week and the gains that our team can make.
Thanks,
Cool.
man.
Thank you.